Hi, today we're going to look at agreeing and disagreeing in English and the short answers you can give. So first up, let's look at agreeing with positive statements. So I like fish is a positive statement. If you want to agree with this, you use the word so, followed by do, and then the subject. So here, so do I. As the verb like is in the present tense, we use do. Notice the subject and verb are inversed. We can also talk in the past tense, so I gave him my number. As the verb gave is in the past tense, we say, so did I. Instead of do, we use did for the past tense. What about a sentence that's got an auxiliary verb? Here we've got she's leaving. So instead of using do or did, we use the auxiliary in the reply. So am I. Another example of a sentence with an auxiliary is we will pay. Here we have will, so we have an auxiliary. So we can't use do or did. So again, we use the auxiliary in our reply. So we would say, so will he. How about sentences with modals in them? Here we've got an example. I could see you were tired. Could is a modal verb, so we can't use do or did. Therefore, we use the modal in the reply. So could they. So now let's move on to agreeing with negative statements. So I don't like fish this time is a negative statement. So if you want to agree with that, so you don't like fish either, you say, neither do I. I didn't give him my number. Another negative statement in the past tense. So as the verb is in the past tense, we say, neither did I. So this time an example with an auxiliary. She isn't leaving, a negative statement using the auxiliary verb of to be. So we use the auxiliary in the reply. Neither am I. Another example of a negative sentence with an auxiliary is we won't pay. If you want to agree with this, you say neither will he. You could say neither will I, neither will you. You change the subject as necessary. Our example of a sentence with a modal in the negative is I couldn't see you were tired. To agree, we again use the modal in the reply. Neither could they. They couldn't see you were tired either. So let's recap. Agreeing with positive statements, we use so plus do or did, depending if the sentence is in the present tense or the past, or the auxiliary, or the modal, and then the subject. As we saw, so do I, so did I, so am I, so will he, so could they. And to agree with negative statements, it's exactly the same, but instead of so, we use neither or nor. Nor means the same as neither, but is slightly more formal. So neither do or did, or the auxiliary, or the modal, and the subject. Neither do I, neither did I, neither am I, neither will he, neither could they. Okay, let's move on to disagreeing. Firstly, positive statements. So back to our fish example. I like fish. This is a positive statement. To disagree, a native speaker would just give the short answer, I don't, rather than I don't like fish. So back to our positive statement in the past. I gave him my number. To disagree, it's just very simple. I didn't. Not I didn't give him my number. We use just the subject and didn't. A positive statement with an auxiliary is she's leaving. To disagree, we just use the auxiliary and not. So here, I'm not. I'm not leaving is long and unnecessary. We will pay. Again, we just use the auxiliary plus not in the reply. He won't. The negative of will is won't. He won't pay is correct, but not an authentic answer. Lastly, with the modal verb, I could see you were tired. To disagree, we simply say they couldn't. Finally, let's look at disagreeing with negative statements. So I don't like fish is a negative statement. You want to disagree. You do like fish, but the short answer is just I do. I didn't give him my number. I did. She isn't leaving. I am. We won't pay. He will. I couldn't see you were tired. They could. So to summarise, disagreeing with positive statements, use the subject plus do or did, or the auxiliary, or the modal, and not. Disagreeing with negative sentences, use the subject plus do or did, or the auxiliary, or the modal. So now it's your turn. I've never been to America. Disagree. I have. I can swim. Agree. So can I. I'm scared. Disagree. I'm not. I haven't done my homework. Agree. Neither have I. Congratulations, you now know the short answers for agreeing and disagreeing in English. Please like this video and remember to subscribe to my channel Oxford English Now so as not to miss out on more free English language videos out every Friday. Thank you for watching.